Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the Online Series 9 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the last episode, we used this really fun team featuring Sludge Wave support Thundurus with Eerie Impulse, Weakness Policy, offensive Togekiss, Life Orb Garchomp, and more. So, we'll be playing a couple more games with it today. Once again, huge thank you to Barzed and Raised NTO for the team. You can find them linked down in the description below, as well as a rental and a paste for this team if you want to try it out yourselves. Before we get started, today's episode is sponsored by Into the AM. You've seen me wear their clothes before on the channel. They're a super awesome apparel company and they make all kinds of different clothing, ranging from t-shirts to hoodies to joggers. I really love their line of graphic tees specifically. Currently wearing one right now, as you can see, and I've linked all of my favorite products from them down in the description below. They're also running a deal on graphic tees right now. You can get 3 for $60, and if you use my affiliate code intotheam.com/cybervgc or use code cybervgc at checkout, you can get a 10% additional discount off your next order. They're also running a bunch of different bundle deals outside of their graphic tees, including, 3 basic tees, 3 basic V-necks, a bunch of tank tops as well. So I've linked that in the description below for all of their custom bundles. So don't forget to use my affiliate link, and thank you so much to Into the AM for continuing to support and sponsor the channel. Alright, getting into the first matchup of the day here, and there's a Tsareena, which is really cool. I think we featured that a little bit throughout like 2020, but it's been a while since I've seen one, so that's definitely interesting. I think the clear max option is going to be Landorus and Rotom on my opponent's team, but like now you go Tsareena and even Tornadus to an extent can max. Some players have opted to run like a Life Orb offensive Tornadus. That's something we saw a little bit of in Series 8, not so much of in Series 7, but could be an interesting tech in Series 7 specifically. So I don't know, both Garchomp and Togekiss are pretty solid here. I really want to just go Togekiss plus Thundurus. We didn't get to Sludge Wave at all yesterday. Garchomp's not really countered by too much damage other than a potential Icy Wind from Tornadus and then just max moves from Landorus, right? Rotom-H's a little bit scary, so that's where Urshifu could play a big role for us. We obviously have to respect Tailwind as well. Okay, once again, I feel like Eerie Impulse is so valuable here that I'm down to just try Thundurus, Togekiss again with Garchomp in the back, and then Urshifu is the last one. Eerie Impulse was definitely the MVP of yesterday, it feels like. Togekiss was obviously very valuable for us as well, but Eerie Impulse had a really dominant performance throughout all the teams that we went up against. So once again, the mark of a good, best of one team is consistency, but also often the element of surprise can add a lot. And with this team, it's not like you take away so much to feature that surprise where you're putting yourself at a major disadvantage. And this actually works out really well for us, as they're gonna go Tornadus plus Grimmsnarl. So this is a pretty free turn 1 Sludge Wave into just a KO. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into things. Thanks so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like, and thanks once again to Into the AM for sponsoring today's video. I think turn 1 I'm just going to go Sludge Wave Max and Starfall here into the... Actually, is there any potential weakness policy set up on their team? No. So I don't really need to care about Tornadus here, I think. I'm down to just Sludge Wave Max, and I think we can just Airstream here for a speed boost, because then, even if they set up Tailwind, right, we have Scary Face on Thundurus. So then Thundurus can just drop the speed of whatever comes in back to its normal state, basically, and then the Togekiss with the speed boost would basically outspeed anything coming in. Now, the slight downside of maxing Togekiss is that my opponent has both Nihilego and Rotom, and both of those resist Togekiss's attacks really well. That being said, they don't match up super well into Garchomp or Urshifu, right? So I can basically use Togekiss in the early game to disrupt and KO everything that's not Rotom or Nihilego. So there's Tailwind. And there's Reflect. Beautiful. So they don't even set up Light Screen because they're expecting Dynamax Thundurus here, which makes a ton of sense. Either way, we get Sludge Wave off, and we're going to get a KO onto the Grimmsnarl as well. So we finally just get the Sludge Wave Togekiss combination off after, 4 games yesterday? We didn't pull it off at all. Get the poison on Grimmsnarl. The reason I'm targeting Grimmsnarl here, by the way, is just because Grimmsnarl, I think, has more potential surprises than Tornadus. With Tornadus, it's going to be Tailwind. It's going to be a combination of moves like Hurricane, Air Slash, Icy Wind, Heat Wave, Taunt, for example. But with Grimmsnarl, it could be dual screens, it could be Trick, and so I'd rather just get rid of it on turn 1. Even if they went for Light Screen, this turn would have played out fine, but the fact that they didn't puts us in an even better spot. And it's now Ego coming in. Yep, makes sense. So with Nihilego coming in here, I think we can just go straight for an Eerie Impulse. I don't really care about it Meteor Beaming here. With Garchomp and Urshifu in the back, our endgame against it is very clear as well. So just Eerie Impulse here and max Airstream into Tornadus feels pretty good to me. So let's go for that. They're probably just going to go for Meteor Beam here. I don't know if it's not going to KO Togekiss, but I don't know if it can KO Tornadus. Or sorry, Thundurus, I should say. Yep, so there's Icy Wind. And now if you doubled up onto Thundurus, you will be able to pick up the knockout onto it. Sounds like people are doing some construction above. There's Meteor Beam. Now, I could have protected Togekiss here, but I think Thundurus being targeted actually would make a lot of sense. So let's see where this is going into. I wouldn't mind a Togekiss target here, honestly, because I should survive. And then I can just like drop its speed next turn. So let's see where it's going into. There's Meteor Beam. And it does go into Thundurus. Okay, yeah. That's kind of a nice play because my opponent does get a Beast Boost that way too, right? So they're essentially at neutral now. Togekiss's speed was dropped. I think Eerie Impulse is still the right play there. But this next turn is going to be pretty interesting because you could now max Nihilego and just go for like max Rockfall into Togekiss. Don't know if it one-shots us from the range that we're at. We also know it's not Focus Sash, so an Earthquake from Garchomp should just finish it off. The question is, who do I want to bring in first, Garchomp or Urshifu? I suspect my opponent's going to bring in Landorus right now, actually. So if I expect Landorus, I think Garchomp's better to go into because we can just EQ the Nihilego for a KO. And there's Landorus, yeah. I think you just have to bring Landorus into this matchup because I have Garchomp. Otherwise, Garchomp kind of crushes the rest of my opponent's team, right? So I think this is pretty good for us, especially because we have the late game Urshifu, which is obviously very strong against this duo, right? So I think here it's fine. They do have Reflect Up, actually, so our physical damage is not going to be amazing, but like I think I'm fine to just Earthquake here and max Airstream into Landorus. We can split our damage here. The Icy Wind is actually a very big deal. Yeah, because imagine if they didn't... Well, I guess Togekiss would probably still be slower than both of these. But either way, because we have Focus Sash on Urshifu as well, like even if you end up maxing, if Sand doesn't go up from like a max Rockfall, Urshifu can, you know, take a big max move and then retaliate back with the Surging Strikes. And you can only max one of the two Pokemon right now, right? So it's kind of an awkward decision. Like, do you max Nihilego? Do you max Landorus instead? If you max Landorus, you really can't do that much damage, so it feels like you have to max the... Or sorry, if you max Nihilego, yeah, you can't do that much damage. So it really feels like you have to max Landorus. Or actually, what I meant to say is, if you max Nihilego, you can't do that much damage with Landorus because then you're relying on Earthquake or Fly or Rock Slide. With maxing Landorus, you know, you have a lot more options. They're actually going to opt for Sludge Bomb here onto the Garchomp. Okay, so probably a double up onto Garchomp. I don't know if this is a KO. Let's see. It's going to be Max Quake coming out. Yep. Nice. And Garchomp hangs on. That's such a clutch survival. I think that survival should allow us to win the game, barring anything really, really bizarre. I'm also curious if Life Orb Earthquake KOs here with the Intimidate and the Nihilego with the Reflect Up. It may have been smarter to double up onto Nihilego, but Nihilego definitely could have protected there, as Landorus just went for an Airstream or Earthquake, so didn't want to risk that. Either way, with Urshifu in the back, this is looking pretty solid already. So there's Earthquake, and that's still just one-shots Nihilego. Yeah, its physical defense is just not very good, and it's 4 times weak to ground, obviously, so that's really good. And Garchomp actually hangs on with 1 HP even after all of that, although a free switch into Urshifu would have been fine there. But the game's over at this point, right? We just get one more attack off with either of these, Rock Slide or Dazzling Gleam, and then the Aqua Jet should finish this thing off. Is there ever a reason to double protect here? No, because I think after a Dazzling Gleam, even with Reflect being up, Aqua Jet should KO this thing. Yeah. So we can just Rock Slide here. I think Rock Slide Dazzling alone might just finish it off. Was it correct to have protected Togekiss? Because they're always going to target Togekiss with Rockfall here. It probably was correct. Because if we miss Rock Slide here, no, we're still fine, right? Because then we just Surging Strikes. Yeah. But I think it was correct to protect Togekiss in this position. There was very little downside to protecting there. That didn't really do a lot of damage. I really should have protected. But they didn't max Airstream. I guess that was the upside of them quaking earlier, right? They didn't Airstream. So I should have protected, but Urshifu should always outspeed and just Surging Strikes this thing because it doesn't have a speed boost right now. So, Yeah, I think our bases were covered there in the end because Max Airstream probably wasn't going to one-shot Togekiss from the range that we were at. So if you Airstream, then you don't KO. We get the Dazzling off, and then Aqua Jet KOs you. But I don't think there's any downside to protecting Togekiss in that position. And yeah, we outspeed, so Surging Strike should finish this thing off. Is there any reason to not protect Togekiss there? They could Max Airstream into Garchomp? No, Max Airstream into Togekiss? Okay, if they, given the play that they went for, Garchomp's always fainting after the Life Orb damage anyway. It was actually really critical that they went for Max Quake on Garchomp over Airstream. Although, even if they went for Airstream, it really depends on the item on Landorus. Like, if they were Assault Vest, then Urshifu would hang on from its sash anyway, but I think it was always better to protect Togekiss just to stall out one more turn of my opponent's Max. Because then Urshifu can come in and then protect, right? To stall out one more turn of Max, and then we can just Aqua Jet after the Dynamax is over. So, yeah. I think the endgame could have been a little bit more optimized here. I mean, I don't know if my opponent could have won either way, but it feels like, yeah, maybe I could have played that a little bit cleaner. Either way, that was a really, really nice game for Thundurus plus Togekiss, so glad to feature what that could do. And that last game was like the classic issue of having like two support Pokemon, right, for my opponent's end. Tornadus and Grimmsnarl just don't do very much damage, and once again, the beauty of the Thundurus Togekiss lead is you bait your opponent into thinking Thundurus is going to max, and then it's actually Togekiss maxing, so yeah. I think the other really nice thing about this team is that it dissuades Intimidates like immediately, right? So then like Garchomp could have some added value as well. This next team feels very much like a 2018 team with Incineroar, Metagross, Fini, and Zapdos. You would see often that core with like Zapdos, for example. Did I say Incin, Metagross, Fini, Tyranitar? Yeah, you would see that with Zapdos. Like Yuri's team that he used throughout 2018. He was one of the most dominant players in that season. Kind of had that core. So the first thing I noticed is that they don't have any ground resist or immunes, right? This probably is not the right matchup for Togekiss, given that they have a Tyranitar, so like it definitely feels like we want to play towards Garchomp. Garchomp, Urshifu, Kartana, Incineroar seems solid, especially because like Thundurus can't go for Prankster attacks onto 3 of my opponent's Pokemon, given that they're Dark type. I think Grimmsnarl plus Metagross is the thing I'm most worried about as a lead, right? That's pretty scary. I think I'm going to go Garchomp, Urshifu, Kartana, Incineroar. Yeah, this is a weird one. Like, this is where I kind of wish we had Follow Me on Togekiss instead. I was actually thinking of leading Togekiss just to bait my opponent into thinking we had Follow Me. Because then I could just go for Follow Me and a Swords Dance turn 1. Feels like if Garchomp gets a Swords Dance off in this game, there's very little my opponent can do. I kind of expect Grimmsnarl Metagross. But they go Grim Fini. Okay, that's not actually too bad for us, I would say. I don't mind that. But the awkward thing on turn 1 is, how do we approach this? Do I max immediately, for example? I could be really greedy in Swords Dance. That is a little bit greedy, though. But it feels like it could pay off so heavily if we actually got it off. The alternative right now is to just Dynamax this thing, go for Max Quake onto Grimmsnarl and Surging Strikes onto it. Like, they'll probably get Reflect Up, but I can't deny it, right? Crazily enough, Togekiss plus Thundurus would have actually been really good here. And maybe I should have thought about it. Actually, now that I think about it, you're never going to bring Tyranitar into this matchup, right? Not never, but like I have Urshifu, I have Garchomp, Kartana, and Incineroar. It's so anti-Tyranitar. I want to Swords Dance really badly here, but since we get a special defense boost via Max Quake, I think I'm just going to Max Quake and Surging Strikes turn 1. I guess the one play I'm nervous about is like Fake Tears, Max Fini, Max Hailstorm into Garchomp. That would actually be just a game-winning play on turn 1. So if it's like Life Orb Fini with Hailstorm, this could actually play out really poorly for us. The other risk in maxing Garchomp here is like it feels like maybe I could have like stalled out things a little bit in the early game. I mean, this lead is okay, but yeah, honestly, I didn't think about the fact that my opponent probably wouldn't want to bring Tyranitar. They just go for Reflect. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Fini doesn't max. I mean, that's good. It's probably going to Calm Mind, though, which is scary, but we have Kartana to deal with it, right? So that's going to be handy. I hope Surging Strike... Oh, even if Surging Strikes doesn't KO, I would think Surging Strikes into Aqua Jet does. So, yeah. I wanted to Swords Dance there really, really badly, and maybe it was worth going for, honestly. But... Because, like, Fini here definitely might go for a Calm Mind. And if it does, then, yeah, it definitely felt like it was worth it to go for a Swords Dance. Because if we Swords Dance in front of a Calm Mind turn 1, like, oh, we're in such a good spot. So the problem is that I brought entirely physical damage in this game, so, yeah. Let's see what they go for. Okay, they just go for Dazzling. But, like, Garchomp could have taken that, so I don't know. I don't know if Swords Dance is worth it, because we would take a lot more damage on top. Metagross probably comes in now if you're my opponent. The fear is whether or not Metagross has max Hailstorm, but they bring in Incineroar. Wow, okay. I mean, I would say that's good for us. You know what? No, there's no way you switch Incin out into Metagross right now, because even with Reflect and Intimidate, you still take too much damage. So, like, I'm willing to just Max Quake here. Max Quake and switching out into Kartana is really interesting, because then I get Kartana out in a really good spot. And I don't think I'm going to eat up like a Flare Blitz on Urshifu right now. At best, maybe a Fake Out or a Parting Shot. I could have just protected with Urshifu here too, but I think getting AV Kartana, giving it a special defense boost, and then getting it out against these two Pokemon are pretty valuable. They do make the switch. Is that Metagross? It's Entei. Whoa. Okay. Now you have... You know, they don't max Fini. What are they maxing at this point then? Huh. I mean, this is fine for me, I think. Like, this is pretty good, I would say. I wonder if it's Scarf Entei with Bulldoze Eruption? Yeah, they start Calm Minding with Fini. Yeah, you max Fini now for sure, right? My only fear here is it's Scarf Entei. I would, here I think like Entei switching back out into Incineroar makes a lot of sense, but I could also see it staying in, and I don't think I can just give up Kartana right now, unfortunately. So we're always going to Max Quake here into Entei, because it covers, like, they don't have a switch in, right? My opponent just doesn't have any ground resist or immunes at all, but you can see they didn't bring T-Tyre or Metagross. The Togekiss plus Thundurus would have absolutely crushed this, but I feel like Grimmsnarl Metagross, like, is something we actually really have to prepare for. Although, like, I do have counterplay to that, so, yeah. I'm going to Quake here and switch out back into... Let's go into Incineroar right now. Because this offers me Fake Out and Parting Shot next turn. I could definitely get swept by Tapu Fini right now, though, right? Like, most of my Pokemon are pretty weak to Fini. 3 of them are, in fact. Okay. Curious if Entei switches out here. Wow. They switch out Fini, giving up their boost. Okay. I mean, I don't mind that. I could see this if Entei is trying to just, like, KO Kartana with a Fire-type attack right now. Wow, I definitely did not see that coming. Well, I'm glad I switched. But, wow. Dynamax Entei. Even though they've taken, like, a fair amount of damage already. Now, they should survive another Max Quake with Reflect and Garchomp being at -2, so that'll help them. I'm curious on the item on that. We're faster as well. That's a really big deal. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised by the fact that we're faster, right? But, like, now I can just switch Garchomp out, back in, and EQ, right? It felt like Fini maxing was the stronger option from their end. So I'm really surprised neither Tyranitar or Metagross came out here. Tyranitar, like I said, makes a little bit more sense. They just flare into Incin, yeah, trying to cover Kartana. That actually makes a lot of sense, though, right? My opponent basically went all in this turn saying, hey, if I max, I'm going to survive a Max Quake, I can KO the Kartana, and if Kartana is eliminated, then Tapu Fini wins the endgame. However, that's exactly why I did not want to stay in with Kartana, because Kartana was basically our primary win condition at this point in the match, right? So let's double check the conditions. +1 special attack, or sorry, +1 special defense. Since we know we're faster with Garchomp, I kind of want to just switch this thing out to reset the Intimidates. But, like, we are also in a position where we could just EQ. Does EQ even knock out Entei from this range? I'm not 100% sure on that. I feel like it should. And we have Shukaberry on this Incineroar, so I'm just going to Fake Out their Incineroar Earthquake here. They could switch their Incin back out into Fini. Whoa, that's a really good play. I like that play a lot, actually. I like that play a lot on their end. I think Fake Out Swords Dance was the right play here, actually. Instead of Earthquaking. I just got a little bit too tempted to knock out the Entei right away. You know, my opponents actually made some really, really smart plays in this game. So kudos to them. Okay. But the thing is, now I have +3 Spadef Garchomp, and like they can't KO me very easily, right? So I can just here I think Instin's gonna Parting Shot into Garchomp, right? They go into Entei. So I like Swords Dance here, and I like Parting Shot into Tapu Fini. Yeah, this definitely, that play keeps them in the game. I think that was really smart to withdraw the Entei out, because you knew you were going to probably feint anyway. Okay, Fini protects, but that's fine. Because the thing is, now Garchomp can ramp up pretty quickly with Swords Dance, right? Entei shouldn't be Scarf, right? If you were Scarfed, you would have just stayed in, so and just KO'd the Kartana. Like, there was no need to max, because you would assume you'd outspeed. Okay, so it's probably a Parting Shot here into Garchomp. Yep. But, like, this is fine, right? Like, yes, I'm at -1 now, but you're slowly stalling out your own Reflect. You can't ever switch in safely into an Earthquake, so that works in our favor as well. And as soon as I pick up a KO, you can't Intimidate swap out anymore, right? And Kartana will win in the endgame if we eliminate the Fire types. I think the main thing here is that I don't want to Earthquake. It's probably better to just go for Rock Slide. They might switch back out. I honestly kind of want to Swords Dance again. Yeah, I kind of like Swords Dancing again here, I think. And Parting Shot into Fini. We're also faster with our Incineroar, as you saw. Yep, so there's the Entei switch out. Just trying to swap and Intimidate over and over again, and that's smart. I think that's definitely the right way to play this. But because we have +3 special defense, Fini's not really doing very much, right? Parting Shot will also drop its stats even further, although Fini should outspeed Incineroar. But Parting Shot also puts us in a pretty good spot, because then we can just switch Incin back in, right? And once again, they're slowly losing their Reflect. They actually go for Muddy Water, which is smart. I think you just go for the accuracy drops right now. It does no damage to Garchomp in the sun with those boosts. And no accuracy drop, more importantly. Okay, good. So we are in very good shape right now then. Because now I can just bring in Urshifu. And with Urshifu, I can just go for a Close Combat onto the Incineroar slot. Swords Dance is what makes this match a lot easier for us, I think. Without Swords Dance, we'd get kind of... It'd just be a little bit annoying with the Intimidates. The other thing to really watch out for right now is getting crit. There's only 2 turns left. They're at -1, so they're really not doing very much damage. Like, you could fake out Dazzling Gleam in this position. Or they might switch Incineroar out. There's only 2 turns of Reflect. Like, that's the main thing. I don't know if Close Combat KOs Incin here. Like, that's what makes this a little bit tricky. I think I like Swords Dance and Protect here. Yeah, I think I'm fine with that. Even if you fake out Garchomp Dazzling Gleam, like, it's not that bad. And now they only have 1 turn of Reflect left. And Kartana in the endgame should also look very good after Reflect is over. Now, they don't fake out with Incineroar, which is very smart. I like that a lot. I think that's really smart. Fini actually opts to Calm Mind, also a smart play there. But once again, I don't really care about Calm Mind Fini that much. 1, because I have the special defense boost on Garchomp, and 2, because I have the AV Kartana in the back. But perfect turn by my opponent there to go for the Parting Shot. However, now they're in a really awkward position, right? Like, yes, you got the Parting Shot off into us, and you got a special attack boost, but my Garchomp's still at +3, and you have to bring the Entei out, right? I guess the only question is whether or not Aqua Jet KOs Entei from that range. I'm actually not sure about that. Sunlight's gone. Oh, Sunlight's gone, though, so I think it should. Yeah, we're at +1 now. You could switch back out into the Incineroar. You probably should. The play is to switch Entei out back into Incineroar and then Dazzling Gleam. So I think here I'm actually willing to just Earthquake and sacrifice the... We still have to play this a little bit slow right now because we have to consider that Fini could get a crit at any given point. But I'm going to make this switch because I'd rather have Urshifu in the endgame than Incineroar. Incineroar's really done its job at this point, right? Intimidate doesn't give me any extra added value, really. And so I'm willing to just Earthquake to KO it. I suppose the scary thing is then Dazzling Gleam becomes single targets. Ooh, okay, they go for Extreme Speed. Wow. Didn't see that coming. Okay. Cool. Well, the main thing is, like, we've eliminated the Entei now, right? We bring in Urshifu now, protect Urshifu, Surging Strikes into Entei, Leaf Blade into Kartana afterwards. So as long as we don't get crit here onto Garchomp, we should be okay. I don't think Gleam would KO here. Let's see. Nice, okay. That turn was a little bit scary because a crit actually would be a disaster for us. Yeah, it would be really bad. But Reflect has finally worn off. We've stallen it out. We bring in Urshifu now. We just double protect into crit surging strikes into the Incineroar, Rock Slide, and then Kartana will always win against the Tapu Fini with the single Leaf Blade in the end game because we've already gotten chip damage onto it. So I definitely had to work kind of hard for this win, it felt like, even though we had the matchup, right? Like, Garchomp is really, really good into my opponent's team. I think the main thing here is that my opponent had a big opportunity to max the Fini instead, but they went all in trying to knock out Kartana. And that's a really smart play because if I had stayed in, been a little bit careless, and lost Kartana, regular Fini should win against us in the end game. So, yeah, that was actually really clever. I'm just going to double protect here. There's very little downside to doing so. Because they're probably going to fake out Calm Mind, but whatever, right? We can just Surging Strikes Rock Slide. Now, the one way this can backfire is if Incineroar actually has Protect. No, actually, you can't Protect in front of Surging Strikes. So, yeah, I don't think it matters. It's always double Protect, Surging Strikes, Rock Slide, and then Kartana, Leaf Blade. Yeah, so smartly enough, you saw here my opponent did not go for a fake out, recognizing that they have to play to their outs, but because we know we have Kartana in the back, like, I don't even mind them getting another, Calm Mind boost off here. And Spurning Jealousy, yeah. So, like, Dazzle will probably pick up a double KO. I mean, it should, but you can't protect in front of the crit Surging Strikes. And while Fini has healed up a bunch, I don't think he can take a Leaf Blade from Kartana in the end game, especially after a little bit more extra damage from Rock Slide. We could Earthquake here, but I don't want to risk critting my own Urshifu. I think that's just a little greedy. So, yeah, just Surging Strikes Rock Slide here. Flinch onto Fini will certainly ensure the game, but I think with Kartana in the back anyway, regular Leaf Blade should also finish things off. So, yeah. Rock Slide double connects. Really nice damage there onto the Incineroar. And this is why it was so essential to conserve Kartana, right? Because otherwise, like, you look at what we brought, we're so weak to the Tapu Fini otherwise. Given that we had Garchomp, we had Urshifu, right? Like, 3 of our Pokemon, and Incineroar, 3 of our Pokemon were really, really weak to Fini here. They will get the Dazzling off, but now it's AV Kartana 1v1 against a Tapu Fini. And we still got Reflect, no more Intimidate, so that's the key thing. So this is a good lesson on why it's really important to conserve a specific Pokemon in a specific matchup, right? Kartana looks really bad on paper here against Incineroar and Entei, obviously, but it has to come out just to deal with Tapu Fini, especially since I didn't go with the Thundurus plus Togekiss route. One actually really interesting option was just leading Thundurus Togekiss and like KOing Grimmsnarl turn 1. That way they don't activate their own policy unless they self-Sucker Punch, which I feel like is kind of unlikely on turn 1. If you Steel Spike into Togekiss, you then activate our policy, and then I can Flare into Metagross. So I actually think Thundurus Togekiss could have been okay here, but Tyranitar made me too scared. However, once again, if you look at my team, very little reason for Tyranitar to actually come out. So we'll just Leaf Blade here. I don't even think +2 Muddy Water would KO since we're Assault Vested, and Leaf Blade should get the knockout here. So yeah. Had to conserve Kartana this whole time. And so that's the risk of Dynamaxing something that, had low HP. Now, once again, that play from my opponent's end was like a game-winning play if I misplayed that turn, so it was smart. And the main thing here, like, this is why with, typically you want, like, Pokemon that can resist types, right? With my opponent not having any ground-type resist or immunes, I could have just, spammed Garchomp fully. So it was AV Entei in the end, yeah. They weren't max speed. Aguav Incineroar, Policy Metagross, Lefties Calm Mind Fini, Gleam over Moonblast, which is, you don't see, like, all the time. And then this Dragon Dance Crunch Superpower. Wow, that's interesting. I guess the other thing I didn't consider is that I did have a +2 max Starfall into this thing if I went Togekiss, but if Tyranitar's Policy, that's obviously a pretty big problem. So I think Thundurus Togekiss actually could have made a lot of sense in that match now that I think about it. But Garchomp just felt like the safer max option to play towards, so that's kind of why I played the way I did. But yeah, it was a really cool max Entei play. And in the end, I think, like, yeah, just not having any ground type switch-ins gave us a pretty big advantage, right? So we were able to just constantly use Earthquake. That's why when you saw that similar core back in 2017 or 2018, you would often see Zapdos on it because that's a really, really good switch-in into Landorus' attacks, for example. So, yeah. So for this match, really interesting, really bulky, which is scary, right? And they have a Glastrier and a Porygon, which also doesn't bode super well for us. So if I wanted a hard deny Trick Room, like I have Taunt, right? So I could go like Incineroar Thundurus. I'm thinking just Thundy Togekiss anyway. Ugh. If you're my opponent, you're definitely setting up screens, and it's probably supportive Grimmsnarl, right? Snarl, Will-O-Wisp. And then you play towards late game Celesteela or Glastrier. Celesteela is actually a really big issue for us as well. So I don't think Garchomp's ever coming out here. Urshifu is valuable just for close combat into Porygon. It's not very good other than that. So I'm thinking Thundurus, Togekiss, Incineroar, and Kartana here, but I fear that my opponent's team is too bulky to break through here. You know what I actually should have led? I think it was supposed to be Incineroar plus Togekiss because I can just Starfall Grim turn 1 so it doesn't get a light screen up. Yeah, that might have been better. I think I like that more because I feel like Grimmsnarl is going to come out for my opponent right now. P2. No, it's P2 and Celesteela. Okay. This isn't too bad per se. Just nervous about weakness policy Celesteela here. Like, what I want to do is play it slow in the beginning, have them stall out their max, so taunt into Porygon, and then switch Togekiss out, expecting max Steel Spike to go into Incineroar. Then I can just Parting Shot and Eerie Impulse Celesteela. Like, here I'm trying to bait them to max Celesteela on turn 1. Because if they can do that, yeah, they're a pretty bulky team, but +2 Togekiss should still sweep through pretty easily in the end game. So, yeah, I was honestly expecting Grim as a lead. If they went, if I went Incin plus Togekiss, I probably could have just gone Fake Out Porygon, like maxed Airstream turn 1. They would Steel Spike into us, maybe. It very much depends on the Celesteela set. This could be like a slower, bulkier set too, right? But I like taunting here, and if they actually max Celesteela on turn 1, it's really good for us. Although I guess like you probably wouldn't want to do that in front of a Thundurus. That might max. Yeah, they don't max it. Okay, that's fine. Maybe Leech Seed, maybe Flash Cannon. Taunt on a Porygon is always a good start. Oh, it's actually Power Meteor Beam. Oh, no. Oh, that is so bad. I could have just gone Sludge Wave Flare turn 1, too. That's probably targeting Thundurus, too. Oh, that's a disaster. Oh, but they go into Incin, okay. That's actually so huge that they targeted Incineroar there instead. Okay. This gives us a much better shot. I'm going to Eerie Impulse into Celesteela and Parting Shot here. It's such a big deal that they didn't pick up a knockout there and they didn't target Thundurus there. I was really curious on the item there. Okay. But here's the thing now. Okay, they switch Porygon. I hope they get baited into maxing Celesteela. That'd actually be really nice for us. But, like, if they max here, you know, I drop your stats so much, bring in Togekiss, and then just go to town from there. Because they didn't set up screens in this game. Oh, and they're maxing. That's so good for us. This is where Eerie Impulse saves us, basically. Now, this doesn't mean we've won by any means, but it is certainly a good sight to see. It's probably Meteor Beam. I'm wondering what move you drop for Protect. Because you're not Assault Vest. Or you could just be running 4 attack anyway. No Protect. Celesteela probably outspeeds Incin here, though, right? So you're at -1. You could easily Rockfall into either of these. Oh, Incineroar's faster. That's so nice. Like, I just dropped this thing's special attack by 3 stages in 1 turn, right? Like, how nice is that? My only fear is if they ended up Steel Spiking Incineroar and I get crit by it onto Togekiss. So, like, part of me wants to play around the crit and just go into Kartana first. I think I'm down for that, honestly. Because what I can do with this, now I pressure Leaf Blade onto Fini, right? And then I could also just switch out Kartana into Incineroar next turn, sacrifice that to get a free switch in into Togekiss. They ended up just going for Rockfall, though, yeah. That's fine. Into Thundurus, maybe? Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, this is totally okay, though, right? Like, you're already at -2. This next turn, I can switch Kartana back out, baiting Max Flare. If they don't Max Flare at next turn, like, I think you always, I don't know, protect Fini, Flare here makes so much sense, right? So, like, if I brought Togekiss out there, I would be in a really good spot, but, like, let's say they actually Steel Spiked into the Incineroar slot, Togekiss gets crit, it's actually very hard to come back from that. So it's like the majority of the time you could probably bring in Togekiss and feel okay about it, but I feel like we have a pretty good advantage right now anyway, so I don't mind playing a little bit slower paced. So I'll go for another Eerie Impulse here on a Celesteela and switch back out into Incineroar now. Eerie Impulse Thundurus has been so phenomenal for us, honestly. Like, this Thundurus set is incredible. And Scary Face is probably our least used move. But, like, you know, Eerie Impulse won us so many games yesterday, especially against, like, the Laprases, for example. Today, in this game, specifically, so valuable against Celesteela. So, hoping to bait out, protect Fini, max flare onto Incineroar this turn. Like, that would be really nice to see. Even if it doesn't happen, though, like, my opponent's going to stall out their max pretty quickly, right? The only downside is that I haven't activated Policy on Togekiss yet, and I'm not sure I will be able to if Thundurus goes down. There's the Fini Protect. Perfect. That's exactly what we wanted to see. Now, even, you know, Max Rockfall isn't going to KO Thundurus. So, Eerie Impulse, once again, coming up so huge for us. And there's the Max Flare. Yeah, that could not have played out any better for us. That's exactly what I was looking for. 25 down to 13. Does not even KO the Incineroar here. Perfect. Nice. How fast is Air Incineroar here? Because if we outspeed, I could just launch a really powerful Max Flare off right now. 84. I'm probably going to get outsped. I think the safest play, honestly, is to just Eerie Impulse Celesteela again and fake out into Tapu Fini. Because then I just get the free switch in into Togekiss. Assuming that you pick up a KO onto the Incineroar. I could have just Flare Blitzed here, but I do risk a potential, like, losing both Pokemon. And, like, right now, late game Togekiss looks phenomenal. Especially because I have Taunt on the Thundurus and the Incineroar. My opponent's win condition is to set up Trick Room, so we really have to be smart about that and try to deny it, right? The Celesteela has revealed Rockfall and Flare, so I'm wondering if it dropped one of Steel Spike or Airstream. At this point, I'm guessing it doesn't have Protect. Like, it's like the Assault Vest Celesteela we used, just without Protect. Okay, so we'll get the Fake Out off here. Great. Eerie Impulse comes out. I just didn't want to risk Fini being faster than Incineroar, which, you know, is pretty likely given that its base speed is significantly higher, and then just, you know, lose both Pokemon. Especially to, like, a crit Rockfall, for example. Yep, so they're going to Rockfall into Thundurus. Okay, that's actually not great for us, because I wanted the free switch in into Togekiss here. Yeah, it's actually kind of annoying. Especially because Incin, I think, actually hangs on from the turn. Yep, and Fini is faster, so good to confirm that. No! This is the one time where 1 HP is actually bad for us, unfortunately. Oh, that's actually really troublesome. I mean, Celesteela is doing no damage right now. This thing's at -6. You probably switch out Celesteela. I kind of want to just make the switch right now in Eerie Impulse, because I'm not really I guess it's just funny, because this whole time I played around a crit, and now I might just get crit anyway, but like Sludge Wave and just go out into Togekiss immediately here feels okay. It's just that Sludge Wave actually does like a decent amount. Man, instant hanging out with 1 HP there was actually so bad for us. And like if I lose this game, then you know, the clear answer is I shouldn't have played so much around this critical hit. Yeah, so Celesteela is going to switch out. That's good. Porygon too, yeah. Good. I mean, feeding, even if it crits us with Muddy Water, isn't going to KO us. Okay, so there's the Sludge Wave. Alright, Thundurus... sorry, Togekiss doesn't take that much, so that's fine. As long as we don't get, like, poisoned. Or Muddy Water crit. And they go for Muddy Water. Thundurus actually dodges it, which is really nice, because it means I can just go for a Taunt onto Porygon again this next turn. It's actually a lot of damage on a Togekiss. Wow. Oh, I actually really don't like that we took that much damage. That was like way too much damage in one turn, I feel like, for me to be comfortable with. Oh, I also wanted Thundurus to faint there, because then I just get a free switch into Kartana. This is like the classic example of where like surviving with things sometimes doesn't work in your favor. Now, I've already revealed Taunt, so I don't think they're going to just go for an attack again. So I honestly kind of want to just Eerie Impulse Porygon. Okay, that's really greedy, though. Like, I feel like I should probably still just Taunt here into Porygon. Max. And Airstream. Like, Ice Beam hurts, but it doesn't hurt that much, right? From Porygon. I'd rather just play it safe right now. But, yeah, I can't help but think that, like, I played too safe in this game. Because I spent this whole time getting Togekiss out, and it's like, in the end, if we got crit there, like, I played around a crit earlier, just to put myself in a position where if I got crit, I still would have been bad, right? But, like, this game would have played out really differently if I just got the free switch in. So Incineroar hanging out with 1 HP worked out against us, and then Thundurus dodging the Muddy Water also worked against us. Now, Fini doesn't protect, which is great, so we should just one-shot that. Even if Porygon Ice Beams, like, it's okay. I do need to get damage onto this thing, though. That's the main thing to watch out for. So, like, I finally got Togekiss activated. You know, I thought so hard about Eerie Impulsing there, just making the hard read that they would Ice Beam, but it's so, like, I would actually throw the game if I went for that and they just went for Trick Room and got Glastrier in, so it's not worth it even though they're probably going to Ice Beam here. Yeah. But we survive, okay. Nice, okay. This is getting dangerously close though, honestly. I really don't like when I put myself in, like, this spot. Because it feels like I could have just accelerated this game really quickly if I just, the turn I parting shotted went into Togekiss. I just, like, played way too cautiously there, and it may have cost us. Because, like, my Togekiss isn't going to get more than one more max move off, right? I guess what's interesting here is who do you bring in? If you bring in Celesteela, obviously I could just Flare Steela. I feel like Glastrier should be their last one, right? Yeah. Okay, but because we have Flare Blitz, like, I think here I'm actually down to just Eerie Impulse Porygon and max Flare into this thing. Because that also sets up the Sun, meaning Flare Blitz from Incineroar can destroy the Celesteela, which I don't think has Protect. I actually don't think Celesteela or Glastrier have Protect. Yeah, looks like my suspicion might be right here. So if Porygon doesn't one-shot us with Ice Beam at -2, we should win the game, but it's pretty close, I think. I hope Flare KOs here, actually. Oh, boy, that didn't KO. That's a big issue. Wow, I thought that would definitely knock out. That probably loses us the game. It's actually really close now, then. They went for Heavy Slam! Oh, that was a mistake from their end for sure. Yeah, that was a really critical mistake from their end. So it's Assault Vest, obviously. I think we just go into Kartana here. Wow. I think it was actually still winnable, even if they didn't go for Heavy Slam there. But yeah, you can't Heavy Slam into Max Mons. Wow. Last turn of Taunt now. Super free Sacred Sword. Question is who I want to target here. Because we have Incineroar in the back and we saw that it's faster than Celesteela, I think it's fine to just go for Sacred Sword here onto... Sacred Sword onto this thing and then just max... We want a Starfall here so they can't Ice Beam freeze us onto Porygon. Yeah, I think that's fine. You probably switch Glastrier out here into Celesteela. This would have been a really interesting game, because so the thing is, let's say they actually KO'd both of our Pokemon there, right? We just get Incineroar in next to Kartana, and then we can Fake Out and Sacred Sword, and then we get a really powerful Flare Blitz off into, like, it's Flare Blitz in Sun against Celesteela plus Kartana, right? So this was an interesting game because I maybe played overly cautious over, like, not bringing Togekiss out, and, like, I was playing around the potential of a crit. In the end, if we crit the, if we ended up critting ourselves with, like, the Sludge Wave or Fini crit us on the switch in, like, that could have been really bad. So, like, I don't really like the line that I took here, especially because I feel like Max Steel Spike into, well, actually Max Rockfall into Incineroar felt like a decently likely play there. Although, like, once again, if Incineroar just fainted like I had intended it for it to, like, the turn I went for Eerie Impulse onto Celesteela again might have actually worked out against us, because if I didn't, like, if I just targeted Fini there, it would have guaranteed the KO onto Incin after Sand, and then I get the Togekiss out. Oh, no, they went for Flare, and then they went for Rockfall the next turn. So, yeah, Flare wouldn't have KO'd anyway, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, either way, the game should be over now with us having Incineroar in the back, but it was definitely, like, let's assume they didn't Heavy Slam, right? It would have been Incin Kartana, but Porygon was still taunted, so I could have gone, like, Fake Out Sacred Sword that turn, right? They then maybe would have switched out to Celesteela, so then I might have to make the read and double up onto the Porygon. Because Kartana would win the endgame, and we just need one Flare Blitz into Celesteela. But the thing to watch out for is whether or not we could actually get that Flare Blitz off. My opponent just probably didn't want to risk missing, right? The Heavy Slam never makes sense there, though. I mean, I'm sure they just forgot about the mechanic. Because you're never going to launch that Heavy Slam into the Thundurus slot, right? So, yeah. Like, I've forgotten about that plenty of times too, right? So that's just like a very specific mechanic that you have to remember. But I don't know, like, this game felt like it should have been a guaranteed win as soon as we got the parting shot off into the Celesteela, and even though we won, like, it would have been a lot closer. Like, I still think we would have been in an okay spot even if both of our Pokemon fainted that turn, but it would have been a lot scarier. I just didn't think, I want to do that calc against the, it was obviously Assault Vest, but even then I was like, I thought Max Flare would KO at +2, so Togekiss into Glastrier, Heat Wave. I don't remember how much special investment we have off the top of my head, so let's actually have to double check. +2, max HP. I'm just wondering if it's like, if Glastrier can always survive this. I have to double check the Togekiss spread, because I don't think we're Modest Max, but Modest Max has a 50% chance to one-shot, which isn't great, admittedly, but I think I still launch Flare into Glastrier. Like, I figured AV would be the item, too. I just didn't think you could survive even with AV, to be honest, but yeah, Glastrier's special defense and HP stat are decent, right? Base 100 HP, base 110 special defense, so yeah. Either way, that was a really wild set of games. Like, this game didn't feel like the best, just because I had an opportunity to get Togekiss out earlier, and I feel like I could have accelerated the game a lot quicker. Because if I just brought it out the turn I parting shotted, you know, they ended up even targeting the Thundurus. Like, it would have just been so free to win at that point, because then we just go, we would have gone for Sludge Wave, Dynamax, Togekiss, Airstream into Fini. The main thing is that anytime you take too much damage, like, you typically want to make sure that your sweeper doesn't take any damage before it maxes, right? And I had to bring it out because I felt like at that point I wasn't going to win the game if I didn't get the weakness policy off. And if I didn't get the weakness policy off, like at that point, like Thundurus had been chipped away. I didn't really have a safe switch in to get Togekiss out. So it's like I played around this potential of a crit, but in the end, that turn I actually had like 2 opportunities to crit, one for myself and one from the Muddy Water. So in the end, in retrospect, I think it was better to just bring Togekiss out there. It just felt like I didn't need to because if it gets crit there, we actually throw away our win condition immediately. So, I don't know. Like, this game was also a little bit interesting because it's like, the Thundurus dodged the Muddy Water and then Incineroar hung on with 1 HP. If either of those just faint, we accelerate the game so much faster, right? But Incineroar plus Thundurus weren't really going to be the damage dealers when we were using this team. And so it was awkward because I didn't want to hard switch them out. So I was just waiting for them to faint, but then like it took a lot longer for them to faint than I expected. So, yeah. Either way, that was a really intense set of games. So thanks so much, as always, for watching. Thank you to Into the AM once again for sponsoring today's video. And yeah, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed. I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.